In this lesson, we're going to explore how to create a brand new workbook in Excel and how to save it properly. Along the way, we'll also dive into what I like to call the anatomy of a spreadsheet and get familiar with the overall layout of Microsoft Excel. So, let's jump in and begin our Excel journey. When you launch Excel for the first time, you'll likely land on a screen that looks something like this. You may notice a list of recently opened spreadsheets, and that can be helpful if you're returning to a file you've already been working on. But for now, let's focus on how to start something fresh. You'll see the option to open a new blank workbook, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that to create a completely clean and blank Excel file. There are also options to explore other templates or search for pre-made ones that suit your needs. But for now, let's stick with the blank workbook. Once our new workbook opens, before we dive into building anything, I want to walk you through the basic structure of what you're looking at. What I like to call the anatomy of a spreadsheet. Every time you work in Excel, your data lives inside something called a sheet or a worksheet. And when you first open a new file, you'll notice down in the lower left corner something like Sheet 1. That's your first worksheet. But here's the cool part. You're not limited to just one sheet. You can have multiple sheets, and when all of them come together, they form what we call a workbook. Right now, my workbook contains just this one worksheet. Excel organizes your data using columns and rows. Columns are the vertical sections labeled with letters like A, B, C, and so on. For instance, column E, column C, or column K. When I click on the letter of a column, that entire column gets highlighted. Rows, on the other hand, run horizontally and are numbered: row 3, row 9, row 10. For example, each cell in Excel is formed where a row and a column intersect. That intersection point, that small rectangular box, is called a cell. So for example, the box where column E and row 10 cross is a cell, and we refer to that cell as E10. Excel has the incredible capacity to hold over 17 billion of these individual cells in a single workbook. Yes, you heard that right. And when you click on a particular cell, it becomes the active cell, the one you're currently working with. One of the most powerful things about Excel is that every single cell has a unique name based on its column letter and row number. So if I click on a cell located in column F and row 8, that's called cell F8. How about one in column L and row 4? That's cell L4. And this naming system opens up so many possibilities, which you'll come to appreciate as you begin working more deeply with Excel. Now, let's go one step further and talk about something called a range. A range is simply a group of cells that you've selected, usually because you want to do something with all of them at once. When you click and drag across several cells, you've just created a range. And just like individual cells, ranges can be described very specifically. The way we describe a range is by noting the top left cell and the bottom right cell. So let's say I've selected from D4 all the way to J14. The way we write that is D4 colon J14. That colon symbol is what tells Excel you're referencing a range of cells from the starting point to the ending point. This is an essential concept that you'll use constantly, so it's good to get comfortable with it now. So to quickly recap the anatomy of a spreadsheet, we have columns and rows. Where they intersect, we have cells. The cell you're working with is called the active cell. Multiple selected cells form a range. All of this happens on a worksheet, and a collection of worksheets makes up your workbook. Now that you understand the structure of Excel, let's take a moment to explore the layout of the interface, the environment where you'll be doing all of your work. When you're using Excel, you'll notice a row of tabs across the top of your screen. This is where you begin to access all the tools Excel has to offer. You usually start on the Home tab, but there's also the Insert tab, the Page Layout tab, the Data tab, and more. When you click on one of these tabs, the options below change, and this area where the buttons appear is called the ribbon. Each ribbon contains groups of related tools. These groups are separated by lines, making it easier to see which tools are grouped together. For instance, there's a Charts group, a Tables group, a Comments group, and so on. But sometimes, the space available on the ribbon isn't enough to display all the options a group has. In those cases, you'll notice a small diagonal arrow. This is what I call a launch button. Some also refer to it as a dialog box launcher. When you click it, it opens up a new window with even more settings and options specific to that group. In addition to the tabs and ribbons, there are a few other layout features you'll want to be aware of. Over on the right side of the screen, we have a vertical scroll bar, which lets you move up and down your spreadsheet. Below that, there's a horizontal scroll bar, so you can move left and right. And just below that is the zoom slider. If you drag it to the right, you zoom in and everything looks bigger. Drag it to the left, and you zoom out to see more of your worksheet at once. Remember, zooming in or out does not affect your data at all. It just changes how much of your worksheet you can see at a time. Down in the lower right-hand corner, you'll also see View buttons. These allow you to switch between different views, like Page Layout View or Page Break Preview. Most people, though, tend to spend the majority of their time working in the normal view, which is the default. Over in the top left corner of your Excel window, you'll see something called the name box. When you click on a cell, the name box shows the name of that cell, like E10 or B3. Later on in the course, you'll learn that this name box can actually do a lot more than just show cell names. At the very top of your Excel window, you'll find the Quick Access toolbar. I've customized mine a bit, so yours might look slightly different. But this little toolbar gives you quick access to some of the most frequently used commands, like Save, Undo, and AutoSum. You'll also see the name of your file in the center and a Close button, shaped like an X, in the upper right corner, which you can click when you're ready to close your Excel workbook. Lastly, just beneath the ribbon, you'll find the Formula bar. This is where you'll enter and edit formulas, and it becomes an incredibly important part of working with Excel, especially as you move forward into more advanced functions. So now that you're familiar with both the structure and the layout of Microsoft Excel, you're fully equipped to start creating your own spreadsheets and begin exploring what Excel can really do. Let's go ahead and save our workbook. I'll click on File and then Save. Since this is our first time saving this file, Excel will take us to the Save As screen. I'll click on Browse, choose a folder like My Documents, and then give my file a name, something like Excel for Beginners Complete Course. Once that's done, I'll click Save. And with that, you're now ready for the next part of our course.